Tucked away in a corner of the wasteland's pulp past lies a comic cover, La Phantoma, a fictional hero in the Fallout universe. But look closer. The pose, the composition, the mystery in motion. It's not just art, it's a mirror. Because this isn't original. It's a flipped replica of Adventure Comics number 428, The Origin of the Black Orchard, a forgotten enigma from DC Comics Silver Age. In the world before the bombs, comics weren't just entertaining, they were identity. A way for society to project hope, fear, and fantasy onto larger-than-life figures. Superman stood for truth, Batman for justice, but the Black Orchard, she stood for secrecy, for the blurred lines between hero and infiltrator. A woman without a name, without a past, just a mask and a mission. Sound familiar? Because Fallout doesn't hand you an identity. It asks you to build one in the ruins, to become legend or ghost, to wear masks, to hide pain, to rewrite who you are again and again. By resurrecting Black Orchard's origin in La Phantoma, Fallout pays tribute not just to the comic, it pays tribute to the very idea of reinvention, of a world that burned away everything it once knew, and still found ways to make myth. In a way, La Phantoma is all of us, a shadow of something forgotten, reborn into something that might just survive the wasteland. Somewhere between the ruins of civilization and the glitter of New Vegas, the music never stopped. The bombs may have fallen, the cities may have turned to dust, but the echoes of Frank Sinatra still drift through the Mojave airwaves, carried by the velvet voice of Mr. New Vegas, a lounge singer trapped in a radio loop serenading ghosts.
Looks like someone is on a roll. Luck be a lady tonight. Here's a little something from the family.
That's what they tell you at Gomorrah if you win big. It's more than just a line from a casino host. It's a wink at one of the most iconic songs in American music. Luck Be a Lady, first written for guys and dolls, but made immortal by Sinatra himself. And this is where Fallout New Vegas does what it does best. It doesn't just throw in a song lyric, it threads the spirit of Sinatra into the DNA of the game. Look at the quest titles alone. My Kind of Town, One for My Baby, Ring-a-Ding-Ding, Come Fly With Me, You'll Know It When It Happens, Don't Make a Beggar of Me, I Could Make You Care. They don't just sound good. They feel like cocktails poured over velvet. They feel like tuxedos and bomb shelters. Like a love song whispered through the crackle of a Geiger counter. In Fallout New Vegas, the world may have ended, but class survived. The Rat Pack spirit lives on, not in people, but in style. And every swing of the roulette wheel, every flick of a cigarette, every time the courier makes a play with nothing but guts and a little lady-like luck. And Mr. New Vegas, he's the last crooner of the end times, a voice that reminds us.
Here's me again, Mr. New Vegas, reminding you that you're nobody till somebody loves you, and that somebody is me. I love you.
Fallout isn't just about survival. Sometimes it's about showmanship, about putting up a smile, lighting up on the strip, and dancing while the world burns. Just like old Blue Eyes would have wanted. There's a moment in 300, that hyper-stylized retelling of Spartan defiance, when King Leonidas locks eyes with the so-called god King Xerxes, a man worshipped, untouchable, cloaked in gold and arrogance, and in one defiant gesture, Leonidas hurls a spear across the battlefield, drawing blood from the face of a living myth. It's not about victory. It's about the idea that no man, no empire, no god is beyond consequence. In Fallout New Vegas, that idea lives again. The Gunrunner's Arsenal challenge, even a god king can bleed, demands you cripple Caesar's head with a throwing spear. It's a direct homage to that mythic act of defiance. But it's also something more, because Caesar is a self-proclaimed god king, a man who rewrote history in his own image. who built a cult, a nation, and a war machine out of the ashes. He speaks in absolutes, wears the mantle of Rome. He doesn't expect you to touch him, let alone wound him. But in that one strike, one thrown weapon into the head of a tyrant, Fallout reminds you, no one is untouchable. Not in the Wasteland, not even in history, not even in the stories we tell ourselves. Fallout doesn't just borrow from 300, it echoes its spine, because in this world, power is borrowed, and every god bleeds eventually. In a world scorched by nuclear fire, some things survive. War, radio waves, and the smooth voice of a man who never lets the apocalypse kill the vibe. Mr. New Vegas is not just a DJ, he's a relic of the old world, still spinning hope, jazz, and weather forecasts in a desert full of ash. And if you've chosen the Wild Wasteland trait, he throws in one more gem.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. New Vegas. Thank you very, very much for listening. Stay classy, New Vegas. More classics coming right up for you, so stay tuned.
It's a wink and a homage to Anchorman, the legend of Ron Burgundy, where Will Ferrell's character famously closes every broadcast with,
"Well, that's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 4 News. You stay classy, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy."
It's clever, but it's also Fallout at its finest. It's layered, ironic, and heavy with meaning, because classy doesn't exist in the Mojave, not anymore. You've got powder gangers in dynamite vests, cannibals in tuxedos, and a civil war brewing beneath the slot machines. But Mr. New Vegas still signs off like the world hasn't ended. Why? Because sometimes the lie is the comfort. Because style, even in ruins, is a form of resistance. In Anchorman, stay classy was a catchphrase. In Fallout, it's a eulogy for a time when people pretended everything was still okay. So the next time Mr. New Vegas tells you to stay classy, listen closely. He's not talking to the city, he's talking to you. In the sun-baked skeleton of New Vegas, a child carries a god in his pocket. A Uselid's EC Finder, a handheld device that calls down death from the heavens. It isn't just another toy in the Mojave. It's a weapon born of impossible precision, and a name that echoes back through history. Euclid, the father of geometry, a man who mapped the invisible laws of order in a chaotic world. And, in Fallout, what is this weapon but a geometry of annihilation? A straight line from satellite to soil, a measured arc of obliteration, a reminder that the tools once meant to understand the universe were retooled to end it. The irony could not be louder, that something named for a man who sought clarity, truth, and harmony now exists as a death ray, wielded in back alleys by warlords and scavengers. And the Sea Finder? It's given to you by the child named Max. A name not unlike the maximum one might see in a geometry equation. But here, it's not calculation, it's casual destruction. Fallout understands something about us. We are creatures who dream of the stars, but never learn to aim any higher than the next target. So yes, a Euclid lives on in New Vegas, but not in chalkboard theories or inked scrolls. He lives on in satellite strikes, in the weaponization of wisdom, and the idea that even math can be warped into madness. You won't hear Elvis Presley crooning over the airwaves in the Mojave, not because they didn't want him there, but because licensing a legend costs more than rebuilding a vault, and yet he haunts the wasteland. The Kings, a gang nestled in the crumbling chaos of Freeside, are more than a tribute act. They are a religion built on the myth of a man who could move crowds with his hips and hold power without a crown. Inside the school of impersonation, Elvis lives on, etched in the chalkboard sermons. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches, gradiating hips equals respect, Be cool, stay cool. It's ridiculous, it's sincere. It's exactly what Fallout does best, warping nostalgia into identity. Their leader, the king, leather jacket, swagger, devotion to peace, but not afraid to throw down when needed. He's not Elvis, but he's close enough to inspire loyalty in a dying world. And it goes a lot deeper. Quests like Nothing But a Hound Dog, Return to Sender, and I Forgot to Remember to Forget, all lifted from Elvis tracks. GI Blues and Viva Las Vegas, not just quest names, they were films starring Elvis, themselves love letters to Americana. Even Radio New Vegas slips in Whispers of the King. The Devil in Disguise, In the Ghetto, Return to Sender, each title dropped like a time capsule cracked open under a red Nevada sky. But why Elvis? Because in a world reduced to ash and ruins, people still need icons. Someone to look cool, sound smooth, and remind them that not everything beautiful had to be lost. And so Elvis doesn't sing in Fallout, he lingers. On the surface, it's just a magazine. A dusty cover, red, white, and blue title. The Patriot's Cookbook. But flip it over, and you'll find the truth stamped in bold. Banned material, marked for burn. This isn't a homemaker's guide. It's Fallout's nod to one of the most infamous underground texts in American counterculture, the Anarchist Cookbook. Originally published in 1971, the Anarchist Cookbook was a manifesto of rebellion, containing instructions on how to build things I would rather not say here, but things you can't bring to airports, and sabotage communications, and disrupt authority. It was feared, censored, and burned. Not because it was a bestseller, but because it spoke to a nation already burning from within. Fallout doesn't name drop that history outright. It just echoes it, quietly and bitterly. By calling it the Patriot's Cookbook, the game twists the idea of patriotism into something darker. What is patriotism in the Fallout universe? Who gets to define it? Is it loyalty to the flag, or defiance against the systems that led to annihilation? You don't just read this magazine to boost your explosive stat, you absorb its message. That knowledge is dangerous. That ideas can be weapons. And that in the world of Fallout, sometimes the line between terrorist and freedom fighter is drawn in ash and ideology. It's not just a joke. It's a smoldering reminder. The most powerful bombs in Fallout were built before the Great War even started. In Aliens, panic has a sound. It's not the roar of the xenomorph. It's the voice of a soldier cracking under pressure.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
That fear, that chaos, it became legend. Not because the lines were dramatic, but because they were real, raw, exactly what you'd say when the monsters are smarter than you, faster than you, already inside. Fallout New Vegas doesn't forget moments like that. If you take the Wild Wasteland trait, the game slips these iconic quotes into NCR emergency broadcasts. A world-ending panic, echoed across the radio waves of the Mojave. You hear it, and suddenly, the line between cinema and the wasteland gets blurred. This isn't just Fallout, it's our nightmares, reloaded. And then there's the challenge, Nuke It from Orbit, a direct call out to Alien's most famous tactical wisdom. Nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. In the context of Fallout, that line isn't just cool, it's tragically prophetic.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit.
Because the world already tried that. They did nuke it from orbit, and they weren't sure about a goddamn thing. So now, you're only left walking the cratered consequences. In a world where the aliens were real, the panic was real, and the solution was permanent. Fallout remembers these lines because they're more than just quotes. They're warnings, and they're still echoing. A man chooses, a slave obeys. Those 6 words echoed through the halls of Rapture. and in a moment of twisted silence, they became a weapon. In BioShock, you kill Andrew Ryan with a golf club. His command, his surrender, his final lesson. Not with a gun, not in combat, but like a puppet, fulfilling its programming. Fallout New Vegas remembers. The Gunrunner's Arsenal Challenge, A Slave Obeys, is a tribute to that moment. It dares you to kill Mr. House, a man clinging to immortality, with a golf club. The reference is deliberate. The message, even more so. Because Mr. House is no different than Ryan. A visionary, a tyrant, a man who tried to control the chaos by becoming more than human. Wires instead of bones. A screen instead of a face. And when you lift that golf club up in Fallout, it's not just a weapon. It's a question. Are you choosing this? Or is the game choosing it for you? Fallout and BioShock were both born in the shadow of player choice. The illusion of freedom wrapped in the mechanics of obedience. And when that swing connects, when Mr. House's cold machinery is silenced, it's not just the end of a dictator. It's a mirror, held up to you. Because in both worlds, the real story isn't about revolution. It's about who's holding the club, and whether they even know why. Know that on the night of the gala event, I shall raise my glass and whisper, Fortunato. Those are the final words of Frederick Sinclair, the visionary architect of the Sierra Madre. But they're not meant as a toast, they're a curse. Because those words don't belong to Sinclair. They belong to Edgar Allan Poe. The Cask of Amontillado. A story of manipulation, false friendship, and burial alive. In Poe's tale, Montresor lures his rival, Fortunato, deep into the catacombs with the promise of rare wine, only to brick him into a wall, alive and laughing. Sound familiar? In Dead Money, Sinclair builds his own catacomb, Sierra Madre Vault, a gilded tomb beneath a poisoned casino, and in the end, he entombs Vera Keyes, the woman he both loved and tried to possess. He doesn't lay bricks around her. He builds a life-size prison of regret, one where the walls are made of holograms, and the chains are made of code. You are the Fortunato. The courier is Fortunato. Christine is Fortunato. Elijah is Fortunato. Everyone in the Sierra Madre is just another fool lured by the promise of treasure and sealed inside the nightmare. And Sinclair, he's Montresor, raising his glass, whispering that name, and watching it all collapse under the weight of pride. Fallout doesn't just quote literature, it uses it as foundation. The Cask of Amontillado wasn't about wine, it was about ego, about vengeance dressed up in civility. And Dead Money is the Fallout version of that same horror. A tale where the vault isn't salvation, it's a grave. So when you hear that whisper, Fortunato, know that in this world, the past doesn't just haunt, it buries. They're either a benefit or a hazard. That's how Rick Deckard saw them. Not as people, but as problems to be solved. Blade Runner asked a question we're still not really ready to answer. What makes something human? In Fallout New Vegas, in its sly brilliance, it doesn't just nod to that question, it drags you into it. The Gunrunner's Arsenal Challenge, benefit or a hazard, has you kill 15 robot targets using that gun, a weapon unmistakably modeled after Deckard's own sidearm in the 1982 film. Sleek, brutal, and iconic. But it's not just about the weapon, it's about why you're pulling the trigger. Deckard hunted replicants, machines built too well. Fallout has its own replicants, sentient robots, artificial minds, digital ghosts locked inside circuitry and purpose. Are they dangerous? Sometimes. But are they soulless? That's murkier. And that's the genius of Fallout's reference. It doesn't just quote Blade Runner, it makes you the Blade Runner. Each shot you take with that gun isn't just part of a challenge, it's a judgment. One of usefulness, of threat, of identity. The robots of Fallout don't cry in the rain like Roy Batty. They don't beg for life, but they exist. And in this irradiated world, that may be the only criteria that still matters. So the next time you raise that gun, ask yourself Deckard's question. Are they a benefit? Are they a hazard? Or are you just following the script? Beneath the Mojave's cracked earth and rusted tin rooftops, there's a secret little tribute. Not to war, not to politics, but to beer. In Brewer's Beer Bootlegging, tucked in a dim-lit basement, there's a weathered sign. Strategic Nuclear Moose. To the untrained eye, it's just a silly name. But Fallout fans with an ear for mischief and a taste for craft culture might recognize the real-world echo. Tactical Nuclear Penguin. A bold, boozy imperial stout brewed by the Scottish renegades at Brewdog. The name alone is chaos incarnate. Brewdog didn't just want to make beer. They wanted to wage war on mediocrity. With a 32% alcohol content, Tactical Nuclear Penguin was more than a stout. It was a statement. And Fallout caught that scent. Strategic Nuclear Moose is that same chaotic energy distilled into Fallout's post-apocalyptic humor. It's a reminder that even after the bombs dropped, humanity's taste for absurdity and alcohol never died. Because in a world where water might kill you, the strongest drink isn't just a luxury. It's survival. It's heritage. It's rebellion in a bottle. So the next time you wander into a busted bootlegging den and see that nuclear moose grinning from the wall, raise a glass. Not to victory, not to defiance. Because in Fallout, even the beer has a bite. Once upon a time, before the bombs fell, before the vaults sealed shut, America sang a lullaby to its children. Not a song of joy, but of survival. Duck and Cover, a cheery little jingle taught in classrooms across the 1950s like it was as normal as saying the Pledge of Allegiance. The logic? If the Soviets launched nukes, children could protect themselves by diving under desks, tiny wooden shields against atomic fire. Fallout takes that very real absurdity and immortalizes it in the form of a skill book. Tattered, cartoonish, and cheerful. Duck and Cover becomes a manual for using explosives. Because, of course it does. In the Fallout world, the joke is eternal. The very thing that was supposed to save you, now, is the thing that teaches you how to blow things up. It's not satire for the sake of comedy. It's a mirror or relic. Fallout doesn't just remember our cold world delusions. It turns them into gameplay. That book in your inventory, it's more than a +3 to explosives. It's a reminder that we once thought fear could be taught in cartoon form. That hiding under a school desk could save you from the sun being torn apart. And yet, even in the wasteland, even after all we've lost, we're still following the same instructions. Duck, cover, and pray. Fallout doesn't ask what we should have done. It just leaves the book on the ground and lets you decide if you're still willing to play pretend. Before the bombs fell, before NCR politics and Legion dogma, before war, there was laughter. Rough, biting, unapologetic laughter. And in the neon ruins of New Vegas, that spirit lives on. Through a ghoul with a mic and an attitude. Hadrian. You'll find him first in the dingy corners of the Atomic Wrangler, tossing out jokes sharper than broken glass. But it's not just comedy. It's Don Rickles, reincarnated in irradiated flesh. Hadrian's style, though? A one-line roast. Audience barbs, a rhythm that sounds like he's been doing this since before the bombs dropped. And let's be honest, he probably has. But the clearest homage comes when he's finally up on the big stage, the Aces Theater at the Tops. There, he looks out over the crowd eyes a familiar face, and drops a line that breaks the fourth wall of history. Swank is here, ladies and gentlemen. Make yourself at home. Swank, hit somebody. That's not just Fallout writing. That's a direct lift from one of Don Rickles' most legendary burns, delivered to Frank Sinatra himself. Make yourself at home, Frank. Hit somebody. And in that moment, Hadrian becomes something more than a character. He becomes a monument to the Strip, to the Rat Pack, to Vegas when the brightest lights weren't neon, they were names. Dean, Sammy, Frank, Don. Fallout doesn't let us forget what came before. It mocks it, mirrors it, and sometimes mourns it. Hadrian is what showbiz looks like after the apocalypse. A little slower, a little rotted, still standing, still killing. And in the world where everything is taken too seriously, Fallout dares to laugh. When you travel with Cass, the sharp-tongued, shotgun-slinging caravaner, you're signing up for more than firepower. You're signing up for commentary, for sass, for classic cartoon references woven through the blood-soaked Mojave. And one line stands out.
Shh, we're hunting shitheads.
It's said with that slurred mix of menace and mischief, the kind only Cass can deliver. But where does it come from? Straight out of the Sunday morning vault, Elmer Fudd, the bumbling hunter from Looney Tunes, eternally chasing Bugs Bunny.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits.
In the pre-war world, it was a harmless line, innocent, nostalgic. In Fallout, it's been corroded by the wasteland. Cass isn't chasing rabbits. She's tracking raiders, slavers, and even legionaries. Not for sport, but for survival. The line still lands with humor, but its humor is sharpened by desperation. It's Elmer Fudd with a broken bottle and a vendetta. And that's what Fallout does best. It doesn't just quote culture, it twists it. It repurposes childhood echoes into adult threats. Because in a world where civilization has collapsed and justice is done at gunpoint, sometimes all that's left to laugh at is the hunt. In the scorched, absurd brilliance of Big Mountain, where science lost its soul and the world forgot to laugh, there lies a strangely touching sight. A circle of 7 garden gnomes, tiny, bearded, and still, each one frozen in silent labor, their gazes fixed toward blood-colored rocks as pickaxes rest gently at their feet. No dialogue, obviously, no quest markers, just the echo of a fairy tale, whispering through the radiation. It's a tribute, a mutated memory of Snow White and the 7 Dwarves, that childhood tale of innocence, exile, and unexpected family. In the original story, a lost girl finds refuge with 7 miners, small in satire, but large in heart. In Fallout, there is no Snow White, only silence, only red rock, and the suggestion that even stories meant for children eventually find their way into the wasteland. The placement is deliberate. The pickaxes, they aren't just props, they're symbols. They're not mining for gold, but for meaning. And the gnomes? They're the forgotten dreams of a pre-war world, clinging to some imagined purity in a place that has long since abandoned it. Because Old World Blues isn't just a DLC, it's a graveyard of ambition, a museum of madness, and in the midst of it, Fallout pauses to remember a fairy tale. Because out here, even the most innocent stories are warped by time, but somehow they still survive. In the world of dust, decay, and broken dreams, sometimes the only thing holding it all together is a voice. And no voice fits Fallout Neon Noir like Dean Martin. From the very moment you awaken in Doc Mitchell's house, a bullet still fresh in your skull, the radio kicks in. And what's playing?
Ain't that a kick in the head?
Dean Martin's timeless croon isn't just ambience, it's atmosphere, a mood, a wink from the past that tells you, even when everything falls apart, some things still swing. But Fallout doesn't just stop at one hit, It builds on Dino's legacy, weaving him into the fabric of the Mojave. Mr. New Vegas, voiced with a suave serenity by Wayne Newton, sometimes drops this gem on the airwaves.
It's me again, Mr. New Vegas, reminding you that you're nobody till somebody loves you, and that somebody is me.
It's not just flirtation, it's a callback to one of Dean's most iconic romantic standards. And then there's the quest Volare, named for the legendary Italian ballad Dean made famous in the West. Nel blu dipinto di blu. In the blue, painted blue. It's a song about flying, about freedom, about dreaming beyond ruin, and how fitting in a quest that leads you to lift the boomers to the sky. These aren't just songs, they're echoes of a world that once was. A Vegas that once danced instead of trembled. A city of suits, martinis, and high hopes. Before the bombs, before the silence. Fallout didn't just license Dean Martin's tracks, it canonized them. Because when everything else is gone, the voice of Dean still sings. In the shadows of Hoover Dam, in the hollow halls of the Ultralux, in the static hum of a pre-war radio left running for 200 years. And in that, Fallout whispers. No matter how bad it gets, the music still plays. Deep within the cave of Abaddon, buried beneath layers of ruin and silence, lies a fossil. A dog, curled, still waiting. His name is Seymour. And unless you carry the Wild Wasteland trait, you'll walk right past him. You'll never know. You'll never feel what it means. But for those who do, the moment hits like a thunderclap of memory. It's a reference to one of the most heartbreaking episodes in animated history, Jurassic Bark from Futurama. In it, Fry finds his dog, Seymour, fossilized, loyal to the end, still waiting for his master who never came home. He waited, day after day, year after year, until the world changed around him, and he didn't. In Fallout Lonesome Road DLC, this fossil is easy to miss. But if you stop, if you really see it, it says everything about this world. Because Fallout isn't just about the big decisions. Sometimes it's about the small heartbreaks. A dog who waited too long. A memory frozen in ash. A joke wrapped in sorrow that makes you laugh just so you don't cry. Seymour's there to remind us, the world didn't end in fire. It ended in forgetting. So if you ever find him, say hello, and then move on, knowing you've been trusted with something precious. A story that didn't need to be told, but was buried here anyway.